Welcome to Healthier, Happier Hour. I'm Kiersten.
I'm Carli. We're so excited that you're here, and we are pumped to help you get healthy, connect in your relationships, and enjoy your life. So happy Wednesday.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Or another day if you had a busy Wednesday.
That's right.
We're here for you.
We sure are. And on this Wednesday, I am really excited for many reasons. But I'm like living my best 90s life right now.
Oh, yeah, you are.
I know. I got my friend's shirt on.
So good.
Giving you a little clue about our day today, our topic right here. If you're watching, if you're listening, I'm wearing my friend's shirt.
Yep.
Which is also inspiring me to sing. I'm trying to hold back really hard right now in song.
Don't hold back. Don't do it.
I'll be there for you. Love
it.
There it is.
Sweet.
And okay, that's only part one of like my 90s vibes today.
Okay.
Do you want to know the other?
Yes.
You're totally going to judge me. I know that you are. With my drink today,
it's about the drink.
It's about the drink. It is a grape soda.
Ooh. I'm not.
It's actually not real. Well, I guess it's real soda.
It's a poppy one?
It's a poppy. Yeah, so there's like no sugar. Well, there's 5 grams of sugar. But I saw this at Sam's Club and I was like, I have to have this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to have it.
It's a great color too. The can.
Like, the kid in me is thriving right now.
Love
Absolutely
it.
thriving. Yeah, I know.
Amazing.
So there it is.
Fun. I have hoop earrings, so I think that's 90s vibe, right?
Look at you. Yes, you're so nice.
White jacket. We're trying.
You are. What are you drinking today? You got anything fun happening?
Well,
fun
I make fun of you for that. I have some wild berry tea.
Oh.
And as a nod to our last episode, and maybe sounds like to this episode too, the ring of my mug says, "Friends, fill your life with joy."
Oh, so cute.
So cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Your friends fill our life with joy.
Sure do.
I'm so glad that we met and became friends.
I know, me too. Which we still haven't done like a full episode on that yet, which maybe we need to do like a special episode about that sometime soon, maybe over the summer.
That'd be fun.
Or like kick off in the fall. It would be so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you missed our last episode, you need to go back and listen to it because we started to get into all things friends and relationships. And we're going to just continue that conversation into today. And that's just all I'm going to leave it at right now.
Cool.
So stick around for some fun stuff. Yeah. Fun and friends. And before we go any further, Kiersten, we got to hear from you. You shared some fun like Cheers or Tears recently. I want to know, what are you going to share with us today?
I don't know. I feel like I usually, as you know, am full of ideas and full of vision. And so this is a weird moment for me. But what I'm feeling is you're right. The last opportunity, I think the last 2 opportunities I've had to do a Cheers or Tears, I have picked grandiose things. Like they're big, impactful things. And that does happen a lot in my life, but it happens in our lives. It really does. And it doesn't, sometimes it's more impactful from the psychology standpoint to think of little wins or little notices. So that's what I'm going to challenge myself to right now. And as you're listening, wherever you're listening, I would invite you to pause and notice either a little win or a little notice of something that would be a tears. And since we're doing the friends vibe, I'm going to do a little of both, a little moment of both. And, you know, maybe you can even talk me through either one, but a little moment of celebrating
Mhm.
being like, choosing to show up for my friends in the way I want to rather than, like, kinda letting life happen is I have been, putting more things on my calendar. So when a friend says they have a surgery coming up, it sounds weird because I just had a surgery, but I have a friend who had a surgery today, and so I put on my calendar yesterday to check in with her, and she's also a mom, so I checked in with her yesterday, and had kind of a conversation with how she was feeling, and normally, I'm kind of, like, really strong in the spontaneous if you're right in front of me. I care so, so, so much, and I care if you're not in front of me too, but sometimes life is just, like, crazy, and then I'm like, "Oh, I forgot to reach out to so and so."
Sure.
So that is my cheers, is I've been putting on the calendar so
Yeah.
I can remind myself better of good things and hard things in my friends' lives. So that is my cheers.
Huge.
Cheers!
Here's to that.
And even as I say that, you can tell I'm being like, "But" so my tears is kind of like the other side of the same coin is
Mhm.
I have this thing that it's, like, never good enough. I think, "Oh, I remembered her," but then, "Oh my gosh, it's so and so's birthday. Oh my goodness, it's this, it's that." It's, you know, like, reacting when I didn't feel like, "Oh, I forgot to put that in the calendar beforehand," or, "I forgot to do that," and I really do care about that person, and, oh, you know, that aspect of it. Like, moving the bar, it's never quite good enough, Kiersten. You then you forgot about this, and you forgot about that. So that's my tears, is it just feels like, oh, I don't wanna feel that way, but I do, and so
Yeah.
that's my tears. So that's my tears.
Yeah. Feeling well, first of all, like, let's not lose the cheers that you mentioned earlier because that's so huge. Like, you've taken like actionable steps and been intentional with the people who are around you and like chosen, like you've taken hold of something and moved the needle. Like, you have momentum going in the direction you want to go. Even if it feels small and insignificant, it is impactful to somebody else. Like, think of how important it is for you when somebody reaches out and is like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Or, "Hey, how's
Yeah,
this?" Or they drop off a note or they drop off dinner or they, just text you and check in. So like knowing that you're doing that for somebody else consistently and making that effort, like that's not unnoticed. And that's really impacting somebody else. Even if you don't know how much it's impacting them or they don't express that to you, that's huge. And you can feel good about that. So number one, like that's major. Even if you don't ever fully receive from someone else like that gratitude from them, you can know and feel confident in like, okay, I'm showing up how I want in these relationships.
mhm,
Like I can be proud of myself in that. Right.
yeah,
And at the same time, like give yourself some grace and compassion and know you're never going to be like, you're not a superhero, right?
right.
Like you are a super mom, you are a super Kiersten, you're a super everything, but there's always like, there's always going to be more that we want to do and more gaps we want to fill. But at the same time, you're choosing the best ways to show up within your capacity right now
Yeah,
and like
but
letting some of those things go, right? Like think about your life, think about your season that you're in,
mm,
all that you're managing, what you're capable of, and being okay with like, all right, I wish I could do more, but this is what I'm capable of right now. I'm
yeah,
proud of how I'm showing up. This is good. I can be proud of me. You
yeah.
know? And like that sounds a little bit like woo woo, whatever.
No,
Maybe, but at the same time, like there's truth in all of that, and sometimes we've got to give that grace to ourselves the same way that we would to somebody else. We would say, like, no, you're doing great. You're doing awesome. Um, I don't remember what episode it was, but we did an episode on self-compassion not that
Yeah.
long ago.
No, it
Um,
wasn't.
and yeah, we talked about some of those things. So, remembering what you are doing well and leaning into that and knowing that it's okay that there's more you want to do. That just means you have a huge heart. It doesn't mean that you're not doing enough.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And I love
Yeah.
that word that you said again, which I think is really something I want to hold on to, is that word capacity.
Yeah.
And you talked about that last episode. And I think that is a powerful spot that would help me in this situation. So that's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Well, cheers to you.
Yeah.
So much
Cheers.
growth.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah. Anytime. Anytime. And we're all right there with you. So you're in good company.
Thank you. Thank you.
Per
I
use.
know. I know.
Per use. Um, that's like the nature of life, though, is what I'm finding is, well, number one, growth, but number two, like our capacity just always shifting and changing, which is why I think coaching is so cool because we're just evolving all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, who I was a year ago or 6 months ago and what I could do and what I expected of myself is so different than who I am now or who I was, 3 years ago or 5 years ago.
It's so crazy. And it's cool. Like, I've always noticed that with books and now with podcasts, since they're so huge, it reminds me, you were just saying about the self-compassion episode we did just a few episodes back, but time-wise, when that dropped, so we recorded it, maybe a couple weeks before my surgery, and then it dropped after my surgery happened, and I thought to myself, oh, I need this message again because once again, you're in a different spot. And
Yeah.
so you can do this with books, with podcast episodes, with topics, with thoughts, and with coaching you're going to pull different things out and trust and know that that's what you need to hear today. And
Mm-hmm.
to your point of what you just told me, let that be good enough. And
Yeah.
good enough is not triggering for me. Like some other people in my life, like Ethan, if you're listening, that if I say good enough, like that's helpful for me. That helps me like finish things good enough. That's actually a helpful tool for me. But for whatever reason, he's just like, he does not like that. Like he doesn't want to finish things good enough. He's like, no. Same as if, okay, tell me if you're the same in this way. Okay, if you said to your husband something or friend, said, hey, do you want to do X, Y, and Z? And they said, that's fine. I am like, what?
So you hate me. You don't want to go. You don't want to do that.
Like,
Never
exactly.
mind.
Like 100%, that is enough. Like in my mind, that is like,
That's a
that's
hard
fine.
no.
It's just kind of like, no.
No. Hold
And
the
so
phone.
if ever like a friend that I'm close with, so that I feel like comfortable saying,
Yeah.
to, or Ethan says that to me, I'm like, huh, what's
I'm
not
like, what?
fine, good enough? Like I thought this was gonna be great, so let's make it great. What's gonna be great about this? So I guess it's just different flavors of the same idea, like,
Yeah.
but so all that to say, like, take what works for you and is
Mhm.
helpful for you and a good tool, and don't let it kind of roll off of you if you're like, oh, that works for Kiersten or that works for Carli or that worked for that one client, but you're different, you're unique in your different season. We love sharing best practices, of course,
Yeah.
but there's going to be certain tools that you're like, no, don't
Yeah.
love it.
Exactly. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the beauty. You get to like experiment with a bunch of different things and find what is the best fit for you.
Yep, exactly. And it can
Oh.
change. Boom.
Yeah. It changes. Boom.
All right.
So good. So good. So good. Man, I need some grape soda. My fiber water. Just kidding. It's not fiber water. If you missed that from several weeks ago.
I thought it was going to be.
I know. So in our last episode, we were talking about friendships and friends. And I was like so inspired. I've had this idea for an episode for a while. And then I was like going through like all my shirts and t-shirts, and I found this one that my brother gave to me. It's
Oh,
Friends shirt. And I was like, oh, I must wear this.
yeah. I love it.
And I don't know if you're a Friends fan or not, but like,
It was like that era of my life. I was not allowed to watch TV still, really.
yeah,
So I never went back, and I know it's a cool thing. All the kids are like
all the kids,
watching it right now. Like,
all
no,
the
seriously,
kids,
all the kids.
all the kids. No,
No, I did not.
when it was on TV, I wasn't allowed to watch it. This was like,
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know when. I wasn't allowed to watch it when it was live on TV, like
Yeah.
cable, because I was too young. But
She goes,
more recently,
"Too young."
I was too young.
Ah.
No, I mean, I know I watched it a couple like episodes with my mom.
Right.
She let me stay up late. But anyhow, um, I loved it so much. And I was thinking about like, as I was, getting the shirt out, I was like, why do I love the show so much?
Yeah.
Why do people love this show so much? I mean, for so many reasons. It's hilarious. It's
Okay.
so funny. But like, it's these 6 friends who go through, what is it? Like a decade of life together. You know what I mean? They have these hilarious relationships. They know each other so well. If you are part of like, the people that grew up watching the show or that got involved watching the show, their idiosyncrasies, what's going to happen. You kind of know like their personalities, who fits into like which different mold of the show. And it's just so refreshing and fun and silly and funny. And there's obviously like love triangles and all the things. But what's so sweet and fun about it is they have this friendship that lasts over this period of time, like over all these seasons of life that they portray throughout the show. And, I think that's so unusual now to see people like have these friendships that are created and that outlast this time. And of course, like at the end of the show, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give anything away. It's old, but like you can go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But like things happen, things change, their relationships change. But it gives you kind of like this hope of like, okay, you can have like deep friendships, you can have whatever. But at the same time, it is a TV show. So
Right.
like assuming that your friendships are going to be like that is not, to use our word from last episode, realistic, right? Like, they live in these 2 apartments right across the hall. They're going back and forth all the time. Like they switch apartments, they do all these crazy things. And they're like in their mid-20s, early 20s, whatnot. So it's just this kind of fun vibe. But anyhow, I think that's why so many people loved it. It's part of why like I loved it.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of got me thinking about how, I think I struggled like in my early adulthood and even like transitioning into getting married and then having kids. I had this idea in my head, and I'm not blaming it on the show, but I had this idea in my head that like,
Still love the show. Still love the show.
that's like what my friendships were going to always be like. You know what I mean? Like my friendships were just going to always just remain so linked up and close. And my community that I had built for so long, like in college. And it slowly, people move, people get jobs in different cities, different states, people get married much earlier, people, whatever it is, it just slowly changes. And so your relationships change over time. Everybody's life moves at a different pace and just looks different. Right. And I, struggled with that in early adulthood and even like more recently, I would say. I feel like I'm just kind of finding my groove really again. And I've been really fortunate to have some super strong friendships that have outlasted time, that like have been with me for decades, like really good friendships. So anyhow, it just kind of made me think about this whole idea of friendships in a unique way of just, how do we kind of determine when it's time to let go of friendships, when it's time to, how do we decide like we should keep pouring into this, or like our time has kind of ended and that's okay. Like
Right.
some friendships are there for a season, some are meant to be there forever, some are anyhow. So I want to just ask you a couple questions before we dive in, like, and just have you share a couple things. Like,
Yeah.
how many of your friends that you had either in college or young adulthood are you still really close with today? Like somebody you would pick up the phone and call
Yeah.
about anything and just have a conversation with?
Yeah. And so I think what comes up for me first off is that there are certain friends, because we've moved, and,
Yeah.
my sister lovingly said when I was, goodness gracious, I was under 25. I remember her saying this though. She's 11 years younger than me. So I think I was like probably 23 or 24. Let's say 24. And so picture her 11 years younger than me, and I'm the big sister. And so she was doing my hair because she was already interested in hair. And I was about to go to a wedding of one of my friends, and I was like having a moment with my little sister where I feel like, oh, she was kind of acting as, closer in age, or even like the wise voice right then. And I was just like, oh, I was nervous to go to this wedding because I was like, oh, I was just worried about being judged or whatever. Like, I don't know. I come from a small town, and
Yeah.
whatever, we all have these assumptions of what everyone's going to do in their life. And she's like, "Oh, Kiers, don't worry. You just do before 25 what most people wait till 45 to do. So don't worry about it. You're just moving faster in life." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, pal." So anyway, that came up for me. So obviously, like a little bit of like, oh, sometimes I wish, just the nature of my life of being in different, moving out of my hometown and then moving to Pennsylvania. And then, so just geography alone
Yeah.
makes me, and I haven't appreciated to the level that I do now. And sometimes I think time just has to do it. But I have a handful of friends that I've had from, they're not all in the same friend group, but I would say like from middle school age that I would still consider like we pick up right where we left off. And there's not this like pressure. A lot of women I find with my husband and his friends, they're not like this. A lot of like my brother and his friends are not like this. They are still super, super close. But
Mm-hmm.
some women have this expectation that we have to be talking to each other every single day or every week in depth. And that's just not how my life's unfolded. But yet I still have 4 women now that come to mind that I've known from 6th grade on. And it's not in the same friend group. Well, 2 of them are. But like, I feel like still some of my best friends, like I trust them. We pick right back up where we left off. We live in different cities and different states, and it's just harder to get together.
Yeah.
And we're all, full-time jobs, kids, husbands,
The
the
whole
whole,
thing.
yeah. And so that's one thing. And saying this, and I feel like it's a little vulnerable because I do look at my brother, and he has had the same friends, but I feel like, especially for a dude, he gets together with them. Like, they really prioritize that. They do
Yeah.
golf weekends like a couple times a year. They do da, da, da. And then my husband too, his college friend group and even a couple from high school, same deal. For dudes, they really prioritize it. And sometimes I feel bad, like, am I not doing a good enough job? And then just like my cheers or tears is like, you know what? I'm really grateful that I'm so, like, every season I have really, really great friends. It's
Yeah.
just that not all of them last, you know, decades, multiple decades.
Yeah.
And it can, like, just fizzle out, and it's just hard to, because you can't be everywhere all the time.
Right.
You can't be investing in everything all the time, or you're really investing in nothing or no one.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I think what you just said is so important. Like, you can't be everywhere all the time, or you're not truly investing in anything, right? Like, you just end up being a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there,
Yeah.
and not really being fully immersed in any one particular thing, or there's no like true depth to the
Right.
relationships, you know? And like, the beautiful thing about some of the relationships you were mentioning earlier, I was listening and I'm like, oh yeah, like I have a couple friends like that from high school.
Yeah.
Like, two my close friends from high school come to mind who, you know, we could go like weeks without talking, and then we get together like once, maybe once a year, that are able to see each other when we all happen to be back home. And
Mm.
it's just like no time has passed,
Yeah.
you know, and we're not going to talk very often. Every once in a while, there's little like spurts of time where we're catching up, you know, on FaceTime or
Mhm.
text or whatever. But when we do get together, it's like no time has passed. And I would tell them anything. I would have no problem picking up the phone and telling them anything. Um, but those relationships are like rooted in some really deep history. You know, people who knew you way back when, which
Yeah.
is just like uncommon and sweet. And it's okay that that's how those relationships operate today, right? Like, it doesn't take away from anything that we don't have, you know, continual conversations today, right? And it's like nothing's ever said from anybody. That's just kind of like we all just, there's like an understanding of like, this is just how our relationship operates right now, and that's okay,
Yeah.
you
And what
know?
a gift too. It is a gift. And I don't want to, like, breeze
Yeah.
through that. Just like, it is such a gift. And I'm also super grateful when, for these rich, deep friendships, whether it be, you know, in different seasons too.
Mhm.
And those, like, you know, just, I hadn't seen someone for like several years and I still didn't even see her, but she picked up the phone. Like, we started texting anyway. She picked up the phone, called me. We talked for like a couple hours. And she's like one of those people that I met in like my early 20s when I first started Fitness Inspired. And she just holds a special spot in my heart, you know?
Mhm.
Too. And so there's definitely friends in different seasons. And I'm thinking of another friend, Becky, who I've had friends, or, you know, we've done the hard things. I think in life, done the great things, done the hard things. And I think that's what I want more of in my life is, we don't know sometimes until looking back though. And that's
Mm.
part of the journey of it too. But I think when you were asking in the last episode about what you want and stuff, that's what I think is so needed for my life. And I get like this. I get really evangel. How do you say that? Evangelistic? Is that it?
Yeah.
About things I'm excited about. I'm like, this is going to help you. I tell her, you need to read this book, or, oh my goodness, like,
Mhm.
I get like that. And I feel myself being like that with deep friendships of like, we all need this, and like rest, especially for women, like
Yeah.
rest. I'm getting really a lot like that right now because I'm like, we all need rest. What does rest look like? Like, it's not even going to feel for me and a lot of people I talk to for sure not comfortable, but even relaxing at first because it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, I think we could all be served with not as worried about the amount of friends, but the depth of
Yeah.
friendships.
Or the longevity of friendships. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I think you're totally right. And I was having a conversation with a client a week or two ago, and she was kind of sharing like the same struggle where um, she actually has so many opportunities, and she's like, Carly, I don't know where to put my time in because I have this group of moms over here, and we like jokingly came up with the name for them. They're like so fun and sweet. She's like, they're going to sushi dinners and wine nights and golf outings and all these things that I don't have time to do, but they sound really fun. But I, you know,
Right.
and then she's like, then I have my like actual close friends who I haven't spent any time with, and I miss them and I want to be vulnerable and share my life with them. And then I have, these couple like family members that are my friends too,
Yeah.
but I haven't spent time with, and just trying to figure out how do I prioritize and like put, like, what buckets do I fill up, And also like knowing your life and knowing, it's okay that some friendships are, as you were talking about, like maybe, I don't want to say temporary, but like some friendships are there for like a season,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm curious to know like your answer for that question. How do you know when it comes to friendships and then when it comes to like investing in people, investing in yourself, even in a friendship, in a relationship? How do you kind of discern where to prioritize your time when you're trying to determine like where to put it, who to invest in,
Yeah.
and you have limited time?
Right.
Um, and how does that fall into like, how does that fit with some friendships maybe fading in, some fading out, and
Mhm.
just kind of like trying to figure out, do I keep pouring into this relationship? Do I let it fade out?
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions in one.
Oh, I love it.
So pick what you think is, yeah, take it where you want.
Okay, cool. So, okay, to stay with the 90s vibe,
Woo-woo.
this feels very like a visual that when you were talking about the different buckets and you were describing the different friend groups as buckets and like where do you pour into?
Mm.
And so I immediately thought of, and this answers some of the questions or gives us a visual or a mindset to filter through, is this was super fun. I remember doing as a really young kid. The sprinklers, I hardly ever see them now because everyone has the, irrigation systems and stuff. But the sprinklers that go like tick, 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 this way
Oh,
and
yeah.
this way.
Yeah.
And I remember, when my dad would like plant grass, there would be like the hay or like if it was a nice hot summer day as a little kid, we would put that sprinkler out and we
Yeah.
would run and we would jump through it. Da, da, da. But if we actually had buckets, even in line of where it was going, if we had buckets lined up on either side of where that would go on each side, those buckets would take days to get filled up with the water running the whole time. And that was the visual I got if we try that approach with our relationships. It feels less risky if we're like, oh, I'm just going to put myself out there a little bit with a lot and I'm going to feel so fulfilled. Oh, no. They're
Yeah.
going to feel so fulfilled. No. It's a fun activity in the summer to run through those, which now it's one of my goals to do by the end of the summer to go do that. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
But as a strategy for relationships, I don't think it is. Now, here we go. If you take
Don't sprinkle your friendships.
the sprinkler head thing off and
Mhm.
have the straight hose, and then you choose a bucket to go into for a period of time, that bucket is going to get filled up. And it's a risk though, because the kid could come over and kick that bucket over. Something could happen. Like there is a risk there. Or
Hmm.
it might not be mutual. It might not be a mutual investment. And I think so that's the brave thing to do. You can have, a few buckets. Like I don't think, at least from my capacity where I'm sitting right now, I don't think I can have more than like 5 buckets out there to really get deep with, right? And so, but it's a risk, but I think it's a risk worth taking. And so just picture yourself being brave and saying like, I choose. It's just like a marriage. Like it's a risk when someone proposes, right? It's like, whoa, they could say no, right? That's a huge risk. And that's a risk when you put yourself out there. I could feel, even just little moments in relationships, I could feel rejected. I could be rejected. I'm putting myself out there. Like I was just talking to my friend about this the other day. She was sharing with me something that's really like, I guess, vulnerable gets so overused now, but a thing that happened to her that she was sharing with a couple family members that she hadn't shared with. And I was like, how was that? That was really brave of you. And then we just got on the topic of talking about, I was like, the thing about when you share something like that is like, can be super, super scary, because one of the things that I don't know about you, but I want the most is to have some people in my life that they see all of me and they still love me.
Yeah. They wrap their arms around you and say, yeah, you belong here.
Yeah.
Like we got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think to answer your question, which is such a good question for me because it's a really hard one, I think it's important, and I'm not going to shy away from it, even though it feels scary to even answer it, is how do you deal with when to allow something to fade, stuff like that. I think that could be like, for sure, something good to talk to, like when you're dealing with, like, talk to a trusted friend, confidant, not that person.
Yeah.
Don't,
Don't talk to that person.
or a therapist, right?
Yeah.
But I think when, I think as a general rule, and it's surprising that, because Ethan would be like, "You're so dramatic sometimes," right? But I think we're way too dramatic about that. Like, we don't need to break up with our friends.
No. But
Unless
sometimes they just like,
unless you do. Sometimes you do, but very rarely. I really
right.
don't think you might have to put a boundary up, but I
Yeah.
think we can be less dramatic and give people the benefit of the doubt when maybe they're putting their energy in different spots. It's not about you. It doesn't need to be about you. Does you like, we don't need to make it so dramatic, is what I think. Over my overarching answer to that is like, and I'm saying this to myself too, don't make it dramatic on either side. Like, don't think that there's something wrong when there's no reason to think there's something wrong. But then also, to I think there comes a point sometimes when it's kind of like a performance-based way of feeling loved, is like if you find yourself doing all of the giving and it's not reciprocated, I think that's a recipe for
Yeah.
unhealthy things.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a tricky question to answer because it could be so like unique and individual.
Yeah.
Right. So
And we should treat it
I
that
think
way.
you're right.
I think we should
Yeah.
treat it as individually as it comes up. Let's not worry about it before it does.
Yeah. But
Uh,
it's just like an interesting, I think just even knowing like that, even just hearing sometimes like it is okay that some friendships are not meant to go the distance of your entire life. And that is okay. You
yeah.
know, even like one of my closest and dearest friends, um, in adulthood, like she ended up moving, she and her family moved, and we just like over time kind of lost touch, just because of life. Like it was nobody did anything wrong. Like,
Oh, I know.
but it was just kind of like, and we just did not have the capacity to continue to stay in touch. Um, and that was just kind of like that. We were like great friends, like
Yeah.
super, super close friends
Yeah.
for a season of life that we both like really needed each other.
Yeah.
And that was like so wonderful. And I'm so thankful for that friendship and that
Mhm.
it's okay that it didn't continue. Like
Yeah.
that was the season it was meant for. And like,
And hey,
that's okay.
maybe there's gonna be a different time where like either one of you would pick up the phone and be like, you know,
Yeah.
never know. You don't
Yeah.
know.
Right. And it's not like right. And it's not like, oh, that was the end of our friendship,
Right. Right.
nothing like that. It was just kind of
Right.
like this is like where we are kind of in our lives right now,
Yep.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
So,
I can really think of only one friendship that I had to put a boundary up and
mm,
she didn't like the boundary. And for probably quite a bit right away, every once in a while, I would try to. She was a really good friend and she didn't like the boundary. And I wasn't willing to move the boundary.
good on
And
you.
she wasn't willing to be friends with me then. So that was really hard and such a loss. So I would just say, like, that's really the only friendship that I felt like ended. And I truly, if she called today, I would be open to being friends.
Yeah.
I tried for a while, like, but it was, I don't know, like, I can't be in her head, but all I know is I couldn't move my boundary. And I guess she didn't want to be friends with me with that boundary.
Yeah.
And that was a huge loss, but I would say that was the only friendship that felt kind of like a breakup to me.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a ebb and it's a flow, and it's such a gift when you have friends that you pick up where you left off. Such a gift
Yeah.
to choose to invest in people over the years, and it's such a gift that we can say, "Hey, like, I just want you to think about." Oh, I know this is too early. You didn't ask me for it, but I just feel
Go
so.
for it. Just go do it.
Okay, thank you. I'm a spaz. So I just want us all to think of the friends that we that you're just grateful for, that you value, that you're grateful for now or ever. And hey, wouldn't it be a cool thing over the course of this week? This is your assignment. Do like 3 today, but then try to do any of that pop in your head, like we pick up where we left off, or I'm so grateful for you as a friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Some note of gratitude. Send them a note, an extra credit with the note. Send this episode. Like, this episode reminded me of you, and here's why. And I'm so grateful. And maybe that might lead to some really joyful things in the future, too.
Yeah. Some awesome conversations and just fun. Like
So,
more connection, more fun, more enjoying your life,
that's
more
right.
healthier, happier. That's what we want for you.
100%. 100%.
So good. Oh, so
All right.
good. Friends for life.
That's our action. Let's do it. Let's
Do it.
give ourselves, like, get momentum. Do like 3 today.
Mm.
soon as we're done here, use the rest of this hour, do it. And then you have before next Wednesday when the next episode drops to kind of like remember that you wanted to do this, that this is worth the effort. It's not that much effort.
No.
You got it.
Do it. And where can everybody find us if they want more than just the podcast? How can they connect with us? Where can they find us? They're like, Carli, Kiersten, this is awesome, but I'm ready for more. What should they do?
Yes. I'm always, if there's an inkling of wanting more, take action before you chicken out. So what does that look like? That looks like healthierhappierhour.com. Go sign up for our list. But as soon as you get that little gift from us, of like a reset of how you can start taking a little tiny daily action for healthier, happier in your own life, email back right away and say, hey, this is blah, 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 whatever you're feeling. This is scary, but I want to take the next step. And then we'll work through it with you because we do group coaching, individual coaching, and we have a course that is in the works. It's not done yet, but it's our method of taking your individual needs and goals and saying, yes, here is how we can come alongside you. You can show up as the best version of you. You're going to fall down. You're going to get back up. You're going to have a community of people. You're building that and investing in that around you and coaching. And it's just so much fun. And you're going to be so glad that you were brave. When you look back, let's say 6 months from now, you could be in a different spot than you are now, in a much better spot, in something better than you can even imagine, or your life is going to keep going anyway. Or you could just keep doing what you're doing and keep on expecting that same result, which is totally fine. And I bet there's something brighter and just more joy for you.
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We're here for it. We're ready. Come on.
Woo-hoo. Let's go. Let's get it.
Let's go.
Cheering for you.
Sure are.
Go do your thing. Woo-hoo.